Good morning, folks. It's Ellison in the kitchen. Happy spring. Thank you, Darka, for reminding me that it's March 20th is the day of the spring equinox. I just wanted to take a few minutes. This isn't like a long formal presentation, but I just had a couple thoughts that I wanted to share based on some exchanges I've had lately. And this isn't going to be anything super new, but I think it's a good reminder, and even for myself, I will admit that. So I wanted to talk. I've talked a little bit ago, about these Shubs and these magical incantations, the Shub of Inky, which is an incantation with magical force, and it goes back to, actually, it was part of the Snow Crash, Neil Stephenson's Snow Crash book, and this idea that there would be this mind virus that would target hackers, and essentially this idea of sort of coordinating people through like magical, like incantation. So a Shub is an incantation with magical force. And, this idea was that they were using this to program people. And, as anybody who's like, follows this stuff, they know, Bernays, subliminal messaging, we know mind entrainment, like there are ways at getting at our consciousness. And so I wanted to remind everyone, because I'm having this back and forth on this YouTube channel, and I get it, because I've been in that place where you think that you've dialed in on what the thing is, right? Like you've, through your life experience and things you've read and influencers you've listened to and all of the things, you're like, okay, as far as I can tell, this is the thing. And what I'm trying to say is that once you choose an ism, like once you've decided, like you're the one who knows the thing, like it's my ism over here, whatever that ism or the ocracy or whatever it is, essentially that leaves you holding the leg of the elephant, and it's one of these old ideas, but that, someone like holding one leg of the elephant, and someone is on the trunk of the elephant, and someone is on the tail of the elephant, and it's all the same thing, but they're seeing it in very different ways. And so as I'm dealing with this idea of understanding emergence and complexity theory, and this idea of polarity, like I think that they want to organize people in different areas of the elephant, and essentially to stick you so close up to that part of the elephant that you really can't see, like you've got blinders on, and maybe you've made a journey to get to that part of the elephant, so you're pretty convinced that you're in the right spot and that you know more than the other people of what is actually going on. And I've fallen into that myself. I wouldn't say I've ever sort of said I know all of the things, like I know exactly what it is, but I would have views and stories that I would sort of offer into the mix. And then clearly the nature of how the digital sphere is managed, the views or the lenses that I put out were generally only explored or picked up or examined by a very, very small group of people. And then there are other stories, other ways of looking that became like the ones that had millions of people like picked up and decided to live in that story. And so my friend Deepti, a couple days ago, she shared a blog post. I think it was on like Winter Oak or something. It was a guest poster, and it was about Maya and the Vedic traditions and this idea of delusion, right? That we're living in an illusion. And I've got to thinking about this a little bit more lately, because I have a friend who's in Sweden, and they have these really creepy posters all over the subways of these like they're artistic, cartoonish, but robots as if they're just in regular, normal human conditions, like a robot helping the robot child do homework, or a robot on the subway looking at their phone, or robots, I don't know, gardening, like just regular things. And, I think on the surface level, it's maybe to implant this idea that robots are going to replace people. But last night we did a talk, I streamed a talk that Cliff and I had done about the Flow Life. It was the 4th installment of the Flow Life series, and linking it to Robert Smith's idea of a planetary uniboots, and that this idea of confining us into microhousing and smaller smart spaces that are data mining us and creating digital twins of us maybe is somehow related to a new civilizational level, whether that is outer space or inner space or some sort of thing. But I was like, wow, well, what if all those robots in Stockholm were actually maybe people putting their consciousness into robots in some other dimension, because that's exactly what sanctuary AI is about. So what I'm trying to encourage people now is to think about, like, when you're in the digital space, it is built on stories. Like, we're collectively building up stories of how to navigate this world. And I would equate the stories that we pick up and inhabit, even in small ways, because, like, a picture can, is worth 1,000 words and all that sort of thing. The meme culture, memetics, the idea of themes and implanted imaginaries is really powerful, even if they just look super goofy, but these things that get passed around. And that's why I feel better having stepped back from the social media space. But they are shubs. These are mind viruses. They're meant to get us positioned on a certain part of the elephant. And incrementally, right? Like, there's not just one meme that you're going to watch and then you go, oh, I'm going over to the trunk and I'm just going to stick here. But over time, they reinforce our positionality in the entirety of it. That's what I'm trying to say. And so, this one person, I'm going back and forth and I'm like, listen, if you pick up this ism and you're like, this is the ism, this is it. And I'm saying, well, actually your collective viewpoint, the next layer, if you go out, if you step back from the elephant, like, the next layer is sociobiology, right? It maybe isn't just Epsioni, it isn't just about a kibbutz, but it's actually more about social insects. At least that's where I see it now, is that's one layer out. Now, next year, next 6 months, there could be another whole layer out beyond social insects. In fact, Steffers just shared with me this morning a really interesting book by this guy, Per Bak, Perbak, who was a complexity theorist at Brookhaven National Labs. And he was looking at not ants and termites and wasps or the insects, but actually about avalanches and geology and the earth movements and magnetism, and how that was part of complexity. And so I'm saying, like, when you inhabit a certain story, it's not like you have to abandon that story to walk into the next story. I'm saying it's more like layers. Like, yes, there are definitely aspects of technocracy involved. Running the world run by experts like a machine, right? And eventually they won't be human experts, they'll be AI. So yes, technocracy is a layer. Yes, communitarianism is a layer, because the collectivism is part of organized group dynamics towards this guide evolution. Yeah, sure. Communitarianism. Is capitalism a layer? Yeah, capitalism is a layer, because it's all about, like, creating polarity and disparity, like income disparity. But would socialism and communism be a part? Yeah, they're part of it too, because that is also part of the collective. So in this emergent thing, it's like not either or, but it's and. Yes, and. Yes, that, and this, and this, and this. And there's always another this. And so, and I feel like the tendency of mind viruses, of knowledge as currency, as this idea to want to find the answer and then just stop, because I get why that would be comfortable. Like, it's tiring. It's tiring to go on to the next thing and go, oh, that's not it. There's something else that I have to learn, and now I have to learn about sand grains and snow and earthquakes. And not everybody is maybe built to do the questing, like, and I mean, again, and no judgment. I'm not saying that the people holding on to the tail of the elephant or the trunk of the elephant are bad people. But what I'm saying is, it's going to be limited. So if you find your comfort zone and that's the story that you believe, like, if you stay there, but realize that there are others of us who see that there are more layers, which doesn't mean that the layer that you picked or the place that you stopped is necessarily wrong, but it's probably not all there is. And so, again, I guess that's mostly what I wanted to say today. It's not really a long piece, but just think about the elephant, right? Like, the elephant, we inhabit stories. All the stuff that we're sharing online is a story. Like, I'm offering you a story today. My story today is maybe this idea is to touch all over the elephant and examine it from all different angles and get your own sense about it, and then feed the elephant some bananas and then walk together through the forest and, like, walk away from the elephant. And then maybe that's our way out of the Maya to the other space. rather than hunkering down and being like, oh, I've got it, this is my part of the elephant and you're wrong and it is this, because I've been there. I've done that. And so I'm not, but I'm just saying all of this information that we consume and that we share and that we provide is part of this reinforcement message. So just be very conscious of when you're consuming, or what you're sharing, is what is the story that it's offering. And what I would posit is that the way through the jacks, that the way to navigate the outside in robot and sort of get beyond, would be to understand that it's lots of different things. There's always more possibilities. We don't have to be afraid of all the possibilities. We don't have to imagine them as the evil pot roast in the toaster oven. We don't have to poke them and be terrified of them, but we can entertain different ideas about it, and then we can keep going. And so I think there will be a group of us who keep going and explore the different parts of the elephant and go, oh yes, it's that, and it's many things from many sides. And then there will be groups of people who simply stay in one place, and they've said this is the thing. And I don't really want to explore other ideas about what it could be, because I find that discomforting. I find that unsettling, and so I'm just going to stay in that place. So yeah, I guess that sort of pretty much covers it. But just beware of mind viruses. Words and images are incantations with magical force, and they might just look like stupid memes, but those are the very, very crafty things. And when you're sharing, understand the story and what it's reinforcing and where they're positioning you on the elephant. And know that there is the possibility of being excited that there are just more things to learn, and more ways of seeing. And if you can get your head in that space, that you don't have to have like grief over like, oh, I was wrong, it wasn't that, it's something else. Like, no, you can just be like, yes, and some more stuff. Let's deepen the conversation. Let's think about it in another way. What if we put on this lens with this new information and revisited the other stuff that we used to know? Like, maybe we'll find some surprising and fascinating things, which is what happens to me all the time. I came in one tiny little part of the elephant, which was education. And I was holding on to the education stuff. And guess what? Like, very few people in the education space had the bandwidth or the inclination to listen to what I was saying. So I was like, okay, well, let me just walk over to some other, I'm like, well, maybe poverty, and then I was like, okay, this is all about capitalism. And then I'm like, but this isn't just it. It's not just stakeholder capitalism. It's not just impact finance. There's something else. Oh, and then you walk over. Oh no. Oh, here, there's some more stuff about this data. This data is feeding the AI. Oh, maybe that's it. Maybe this is all about the singularity. But okay. Oh, here's some stuff. Where they actually want to use the data. It's not just about turning us into an AI. Or turning, like, feeding the AI, which it definitely is that. But it's also about steering us. It's about maybe using us as a biohybrid computer. Like, oh, okay, so that's another piece. And then okay, bugs, right? Social insects. Oh, but now maybe avalanches. And so there are all of these possibilities that, if we don't have to be afraid of them, we can embrace them and explore them. And then maybe eventually we'll just get tired of the whole Maya thing, and we'll move on to the next phase. But anyway, so yeah, so beware of incantations and mind viruses and memetics. Think about where you are on the elephant, and think about all the other people on the elephant, and realize that it's all the elephant, and they have you positioned around the elephant for a certain purpose, for a certain reason. I would just caution, like, getting too wedded to any particular ism or ocracy, because it's probably that and a lot of other things. And yeah, someone asked me about conspiracy. Like, oh, every time I try to talk about things, everyone says, oh, that's just conspiracy. And like, what are some good resources to figure this out? And I said, part of this is they not only give you a story to live in and reinforce that story, but they give you a language. They give you concepts. They give you mental shortcuts, and then expect you to frame your response within the shortcut that they give you. And I said, I just think it's good to just not even poke at that pot roast. Like, let's just step back and say, well, listen, I think we all need to realize that we live in a story, and the story is made up of curated information, limited information, because the we can't possibly hold all of the information of the world in our mind at once. That's just not humanly possible. I guess that's sort of what makes the beauty of human diversity and viewpoints and lived experience. So just be cautious. Even I said, even the stuff, like, be aware of me. Like, I'm not outside of the elephant either. Like, I'm not saying I have all the answers. Like, figure out what makes sense for yourself, because you could possibly have a really amazing other way of looking at it than the outside in robot. Like, you might be like, oh, Allison, that outside in robot, that helps me think about it. But then I also have some of these new ideas. And then it's this dynamic interplay. But whenever you see things like you will eat bugs, I was talking with someone yesterday. They developed a presentation, and a lot of their presentation was pulling in these viral themes from the social media. And I said, well, but she also had a whole section, which is really great, on propaganda and mind control and the history of that. And I said, well, I think we need to sort of realize that if we're wading through social media, that all of those things are in play in that space. And so they want you to inhabit a story that you didn't choose. They want you to use words that you haven't really. I'm not saying that you just totally invent totally new words out of, super califragilistic or something like that, but that another meme, right? I don't think that word means what you think it means. They want to invert words. Like, there is a total element of word spelling going on in all of this. So read widely, explore widely, and then figure out your own framing for some of this, not the viral stuff, but the things that seem important to you. And so I just said, let's not do the conspiracy stuff. Let's just say, listen, can we all agree that we live in realities that are mediated by the information we navigate through our daily lives, both consuming online and reading in books and reading in papers and the movies we see and the shows we watch and then the things we talk about people in the water cooler, but that's not it. That's not the only information. And so rather than calling something a conspiracy, can we just say there's different stories and different perspectives, and we can offer some different perspectives on that. So anyway, that's all I've got to say. That's sort of on my mind this morning. The idea again, incantations. Where are you on the elephant? The Maya. They want us positioned so that we each think that we have the answer, but actually, it's all probably some combination of all the answers together. And then how do we? Where do we go to get some bananas and feed the elephant and get out of this thing? So happy spring. It's like 25 degrees here in Philadelphia. It's really cold. It's like some of the coldest weather of the winter so far, but I have a few tiny daffodils out in the backyard and some Scilla sibirica, which is that beautiful, beautiful blue. And I just ordered some fabric for a new quilt that I'm very excited about. So I hope you guys are all well. And everybody, if you imagine that I've been talking about you in this, like, understand that it's well intentioned. These are just things I want to talk about. So anyway, take care, everyone. Bye-bye.